Yes, yes, yes. This is another episode of Wake Up African People, and this is the Truth Doctor. And like the song said, the ball of confusion. That's what the world is today. And you have been put in this ball of confusion. And this ball of confusion is getting ready to come to you unconfused by the great Dr. Walter Williams, who's going to straighten this ball of confusion out for you if you're interested in getting it straight out in your mind and get your mind functioning in a sane, upright, and connected back to the spiritual realm of our ancestors in nature, Ma'at way. And my co-host, Brother Bartley, is going to be reading Dr. Walter Williams' book, The Historical Origin of Christian. Brother Bartley, the mic is
Yes.
yours, my brother.
Okay, thank you, Brother Akbar. My name is Arthur Bartley. Brothers and sisters, again, I would like to welcome you to another live broadcast of Wake Up African People. To the host and to our distinguished guest, Dr. Walter Williams, I greet you all with the words of our ancient Egyptian ancestors, Ma'at Hotep, which means peace. Tonight, the great Dr. Williams will continue with part 4 of his lecture on the historical origin of Christianity. Tonight, we want to go into the Vatican, which should be a very, very interesting topic because the Pope was here a couple of months ago. But before we bring the great doctor to the mic, I would like to read a section from his book in the summary. He says the Uncle Tom were the bourgeois, Neophysitic, Melchite Coptic Egyptian Christians that Theodore Axius showed Emperor Justinian I how to take back the donation of Constantine. Justinian was looking for an excuse to take it back. The three Nestorian chapters, were a very weak excuse. The three chapters were written years before Justinian was born. Theodoret, and Ibis were long dead when Justinian issued his Athenaeus 544 ACE. Vigilius was set up by the Justinian and Theodore Axius. Justinian did not build the Hagia Sophia, the world's first Christian church, for the exterior Coptic or Melchite Copt. He built it for himself and his wife Theodora, with the sole purpose of taking back the donation of Constantine. Now, in concluding this here, I would like to iterate that Dr. Williams needs to be commended for the new scholarship that he has brought forth. I know that what he has revealed goes against most people's spiritual foundation. However, the best medicine does not always taste good going down, but does a world of good once it gets into your system. Be open-minded and hear the message. The message should be clear. It is very important where we invest our natural, creative, given spirituality. None of us were born a Christian. Some individuals, be it your parents or someone else close to you, introduced you to this religion called Christianity at the time of your birth. The Creator gave you a divine spiritual birthright, which was hooked up in place and in tune with the spiritual rhythm of the universe. We do not need organized religions. The reality of the situation is that all religions are man-made. The Creator provided for our spiritual needs when we were born. Man created religion to try to harness our natural spirituality. The Europeans know that people who embrace religion are easy to control and are easily led. They also became aware many years ago that if they gave the masses a pie in the sky religion under their control, they could then have heaven on earth with themselves being God. The scholarly community is now faced with a challenge. Walter Williams has taken investigative research in the field of religion history to a new plateau. This book presents the new scholarship of the Ancient Egyptian Institute. It is definitely a textbook for the study of Christianity. Dr. Walter Williams has challenged our old way of thinking with fresh ideas and thought. This work is the culmination of nearly 20 years of investigative research. He is definitely the authority on the subjects at the vanguard of raising theological debate to a new dimension. World history in general and religion in particular have been written using the ancient Egyptians and their descendants as a foundation. This book will be a classic in the research scholarship for many years to come. On a final note, someone once said, to discover to the world something which deeply concerned it and of which it was previously ignorant to prove it, it had been mistaken on some vital points of temporal or spiritual interest, is as important a service as a human being can render to his fellow creatures, and the most previous gift which could be bestowed on mankind. This is something that the ancient Egyptians and their descendants have been doing over and over again. Walter Williams has kept this holy legacy going and passed the tradition down to you. Keep the light of truth forever shining. Now, brothers and sisters, the part 1, 2, and 3 have been very informative and things that you've never heard before, that if it wasn't for this great man, we wouldn't be hearing it today. It takes a lot of courage to go against the grain. What I mean by go against the grain, where to march to the beat of the drummer, but go in the opposite direction, takes a lot of courage. And I must say that no one in our community, as I could speak of at this point, have done the type of research that this man has done. And we need to cherish this man just like we cherish all the rest of the people who went before him for doing a great service to our community. Without going any further, brothers and sisters, I would like to bring on this great man, and he could further take you into part 4 and further give you the life-saving teachings that he brings to you. Brothers and sisters, may I present to you the Walter Williams. Doctor, the mic is yours.
Thank you so much, Brother Bartley. I appreciate your reading from my book, The Historical Origin of Christianity. And I appreciate you and Brother Akbar for having the courage to bring me on and allowing me to present to our African community some information that is vitally needed in our community at this time in world history. Thank you so much. Now, tonight we're going to talk about the Vatican. We're going to talk about the Bible, and we're going to talk about God. Let's start with the first seat of Christianity and the world's first Christian church that Brother Bartley mentioned, such as the Hagia Sophia. The Hagia Sophia is the world's first Christian church built in 532, commissioned to be built by Justinian and his wife Theodora in 532, commissioned African architects to design it and to build it. Finished 5 years later, 537. That's the first Christian church ever built on earth, the first university for Europeans ever built on earth. And it became the seat of Christianity. That building, the Hagia Sophia, was built and finished in 537, December the 27th. And when that seat of Christianity moved from Northeast Africa out of the double-walled city of Constantinople, out of the Hagia Sophia into Europe in 1539, that's when the Vatican and the seat first began to leave Northeast Africa, 1539, and then 6 years later, Eugenius IV, Nicholas V built over the catacombs on the outskirts of Rome what we know as the Vatican. But there were some things historically that brought all that about. One was when the Seljukian Turks erupted out of Iran, I think I mentioned that last week, into Northeast Africa and began to intimidate and usurp land from the Byzantine Emperor. And then later on, the Ottoman Turkish Empire was established in 1300 to further take territory from the Byzantine Emperor and the Byzantine Empire. And when that happened, going further into history, that caused a threat to the Byzantine Empire. Therefore, Alexius I Comnenus in 1096 called the world's first crusade to come about. He made a call to those barons in Europe to send armies over in Northeast Africa to try to defeat the Seljukian Turks and the Ottoman Turks. But they were unsuccessful. Now, you can read about the Crusades. I have in my book, Historical Origin of Islam, a progression of the Crusades, and I'll touch on each year that the Crusades existed up until the 12th and 13th century. Now, it was imminent that matter of time that the Ottoman Turks was going to break through the double-walled city of Constantinople and seize Constantinople and seize the Hagia Sophia, the Church of the Holy Wisdom, which is another name for Christ. Now, that did happen in 1453, but let's go back 14 years prior to 1453. John VIII, knowing that it was just a matter of time that these Ottoman Turks was going to come into the double-walled city of Constantinople and seize the Hagia Sophia. And John VIII, and went into Florence, Italy in 1439 relinquish what is known as the donation of Constantine to allow the seat of Christianity to be moved out of Northeast Africa into Europe. And 6 years after that was done, Eugenius IV, Nicholas V, on the outskirts of Rome, over the catacombs, they dug up those bodies that were buried in the ground, because the Italians buried their dead in the ground, and it's called the catacombs. And those catacombs was on the outskirts of Rome. And today, the Vatican stands on top of the catacombs because it was built on top of the catacombs. Now, in 1445, they began to build St. Peter's Church, known today as St. Peter's Basilica. And that set off and made possible for the seat of Christianity to be put right there in and on the outskirts of Rome. And it was a double-walled city. If you go there today, you'll see that the Vatican is nothing but a replica of the double-walled city of Constantinople, which is known today as Byzantine. Which is known today over in Northeast Africa, as known as Istanbul, Turkey. Okay, and that you will find that seat of Christianity in the Vatican as it is over there today. Now, mind you, let's go back into Johannes Gutenberg, who was an individual who invented the printing press with movable print. That was done in 1437. Let's also go back 37 years before that, at the beginning of the Renaissance era, 1400, which is the 15th century. And what was happening there during the Renaissance era was that the Europeans in Europe was coming out of the Dark Ages because the masses of people in Europe could not read or write, and that age that they began to start to read and write is called the Renaissance era, 15th and 16th century. So another note I want to tell you that today, as I speak, the Europeans has only been literate for 618 years. That's it. Next year it'll be 619 years. So literacy began to come into Europe, and it was introduced by an African coming out of Constantinople by the name of Manuel Chrysaorus. In 1397, he went into Florence, Italy, the Curia there. The word Curia means college, and he began to teach the handful male students, because they didn't allow women into their school system or their college. He began to teach them the rudiments of the Greek alphabet, the ABCs. Okay? So now, here you have the Vatican already established there, over there in Europe. And let's go into the Bible now. 30 years after the Vatican was created, the first Bible came out on planet Earth, 1475. That Bible was printed in Italy, in a city called Bologna, Italy. And the alphabet that was used to print that Bible was known as the Greek alphabet. There were three men who formulated that Bible. Johannes Ruslan, Marcello Ficino, Pico della Mirandola. Those are two Italian counterparts to Ruslan, Johannes Ruslan. Together, they collaborated on the material that they used to print that Bible was coming from Moses' Maimon, called Maimonides. And the Orthodox name of that Bible was the Hebrew Bible. So it came out, the world's first Bible came out in 1475. Okay? Now, the Vatican at that time was only 30 years old. The Vatican at that time did not have any literature for its object, the object of Christianity, Jesus the Christ. They didn't have no literature for that, or for that church, okay, or for that symbol of Christianity, Jesus the Christ. So what happened was that they were infuriated because Johannes Jerusalem had translated that Bible from Greek to Latin and gave a copy to the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church with instructions that if he reads this Bible, it will give him a better understanding of Christianity. So that infuriated him. So what he did in 1500, he commissioned a homosexual by the name of Desiderius Erasmus to come out and produce a Bible for the object of Christianity. It took him 16 years, and he came out in 1516 with the Novum Instrumentum, or the Synoptic Gospel, which consists of Mark, Matthew, and Luke, and they always told you that John came later. So now, here you have an individual who was an ex-Roman Catholic priest. At that time, in 1516, when he came out with the Novum Instrumentum, he was also a playwright. He wrote 3 plays, Insurrection, Folly, Praise of Folly, and Adages. Those are his 3 plays that he wrote at the time, before he wrote the Synoptic Gospel of Mark, Matthew, and Luke. He also wrote 1 and 2 Peter, 1 and 2 Corinthians, Galatians, and epistles to the Romans. Those are his 9 manuscripts that he contributed to the Novum Instrumentum. In 1516, he came out with the Novum Instrumentum. They changed it in 1519 to the Novum Testamentum. 1535, they changed it to the New Testament. So I'm giving you a little progression of how history is treating and writing about the Bible that Erasmus put out. Okay? Now, let's get back to the Old Testament, or the Hebrew Bible. It was called the Hebrew Bible before it was called the Old Testament. Jacob Van Liesveld in 1527 put both books, the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament, under one cover. And he dropped the name Hebrew Bible and called it the Old Testament. That gives you a little something about the Bible. Then we're going to go up to the first person who translated that Bible into English, William Tyndale, 1524 and 25. He translated that Bible into English for the very first time. He was also a friend of Erasmus. Let's go a little further about the Bible. Miles Coverdale, in between 1539 and 1541, he produced 3 Bibles. One Bible is called the Great Bible, that he dedicated to King losing my thought here. Henry VIII. He dedicated that Bible to Henry VIII. It's called the Great Bible. Then he also created the second Bible called the Cranmer Bible, dedicated to the ecclesiastical authority and the ecclesiastical advisor to Henry VIII, Thomas Cranmer. It's called the Cranmer Bible. Then he produced the third Bible called Geneva Bible. Okay? Then, let's move a little further. In 1582 and 83, the friars out of France, who was a arm of the Roman Catholic Church, produced a Bible called the Douay Bible. And that Douay Bible was a censored Bible because the Pope censored that Bible. In other words, the friars out of France created a Bible, but the Pope censored what they was putting into that Bible. We're talking about 1582, 83. Then we're going to go up to 1610. Now, the first Bible, Douay Bible, was let's say a New Testament type Bible. Now we're going to 1610. They're going to come out with an Old Testament type Bible, the same friars out of France. Now, in 1610, they came out with another censored Bible that was censored by the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church. And that was done in 1610. In 1611, Francis Bacon and Lancelot Andrewes produced a Bible dedicated to King James. It's called the King James Version, 1611. See? So that gives you sort of a little overview, short overview on the Bible. Okay? So now we don't cover the transfer of the seed of Christianity out of Northeast Africa, out of Constantinople, into Europe by John VIII relinquishing the donation of Constantine to move that seat into what we know today as the Vatican. And over the catacombs, they built the Vatican. So that's a short overview on that. Also, I gave you a short overview on the Bible, and which can be further discussed at any time by anyone who wants to call up, and we can further discuss it. Now, we want to talk about God. Everybody heard of God. A lot of people believe in God. Most of the people believe in God. And the ones who don't believe in God, they won't tell you they don't believe in God because they have been frightened away from not believing in God. Because if a person asks you, do you believe in God? You say no. Then they look at you strange and say, hey, something wrong with this guy. You see? But now, it's got to be understood that God is a man. My wife came to me one day and she says, Walter, I'm going to tell you something about God. God is an abstract idea that needs human spirituality to give it life. Without your human spirituality giving life and believing in God, God will not have life. Now, who is God? The preachers tell you that God made man from his own image. So that's telling you right there that God is a man. Then they say, well, God created the heavens and the earth. That's not true. Now, what is the heavens and the earth? What did God create? What is God and what is creation? We're getting into that at this very moment. Now, let's talk about creation. Now, what is creation? Creation is the sky, the moon, the stars, the planet, the sun, air, earth, water, vegetation, animals, and humanity. That's creation. See? Now, humanity is in the creation. So therefore, humanity consists of God and goddess, male and female. Now, who created all these things I just mentioned? The sky, the moon, the air, the sun, the plants, and vegetation, animals, and humanity, and water, and so forth and so on. I'll give you the answer. No human on earth can tell you or give you that answer of who created creation, because no human on earth know how they got here as a human being. So therefore, they can't tell you about who created the stars, the sky, the moon, the sun, air, and so forth and so on. No matter how much education they have, how much money they have, what station in life they hold, it can't not be told by any human on earth? The answer to that question, what created all these things I just mentioned that's in creation, I'll give you the answer. It's the mystery of life. A mystery of life. You will never, ever know that. Second question has to be asked. When, who, and what created the first man and the first woman to appear on planet Earth? When was this done? How did they get here? What created them to come here? The answer I'll give you, the mystery of life. No human can tell you that. Third question. When you go to a funeral and you look in the casket of a deceased, where did the soul or the spirit of that deceased individual, where did he go after he died? Give you the answer. Don't know. Call the mystery of life. Fourth question. How did you, the individual human that is hearing my voice at this very moment, how did you get here on earth? Do you know? Now, you know that your mother and father had a sexual intercourse. Good. Nothing wrong with that. That's true. But how did you develop for 9 months and being incubated in her stomach area for 9 months? How did you develop into a human being? Do you know? No, you don't know that. The only thing that you know, you found yourself here on earth at a certain conscious memory in your mind. It may be 2 years old, 3, 4, or 5. Okay? But you found yourself on earth at a certain conscious memory in your mind. So from 0 to whatever conscious age memory that you can remember that you found yourself here, from 0 to that time that you found yourself here, you have no knowledge. You don't know what went on before 0 to 3 years old, or however age you found yourself. Second, you found yourself living in a certain geographical land area on earth. No matter where that may be, but you found yourself there. And you also find yourself belonging to a certain race of people. Now you multiply that with every human on earth. The Chinese cannot tell you how you got into China as a Chinese. Africans cannot tell you how you got into Africa as an African. The European can't tell you how you got into Europe as a European, and the Indian of India cannot tell you how you got into India as an Indian, and so forth and so on. It goes for all races of people. They found themselves into the geographical land area that they reside in at this moment that I'm talking. So let's clear that up. So God is a man. A man singularly cannot produce anything with life in it. A female singularly cannot produce anything with life in it unless the two, the female and the male, are sexually mated and have an intercourse, and the male sperm fertilizes the female's egg, thus causing 9 months of incubation for procreation to come out at the end of that 9 months, and that's a human life. So you got to really understand that. Also, getting back to the male singularly and the female singularly cannot produce anything with life in it. If you look around you and you see things that came out of the minds of a male or a female, everything that you see around you, except for other humans, or anything with life in it, such as grass and flowers and trees and shrubs and so forth and so on, everything else is dead, has no life in it. But it came from the mind created by a male or a female. You see? So You really have to really come to grips with that. So you have been misled about God. The religions mislead the individual about God. God is a man. Every religion has a God in its religion. Christianity has this dead white man on the cross, saying that he is the Son of God. And by him being the Son of God, he becomes homogeneous. God the Father, God the Son, the same. In other words, this image that you see on this cross, this dead white man on this cross, is supposed to be the Son of God. So for Christianity, you have God. You have an incorporeal, invisible God, and you have a corporeal, visible God in the form of Jesus Christ. In Islam, you have Allah as God, invisible, incorporeal, invisible, but still a God in the minds of Muslims. In Judaism, you have Yahweh and Jehovah as God, invisible, incorporeal. See? But all these religions have gods, and they put this in the minds of people and mislead people away from the understanding about God. Every man that's walking this earth as a man, a male, is a god. Every female that's walking this earth as a female is goddess. So male the man, goddess the female, procreated by having a sexual intercourse, and after 9 months of incubation comes pro-life. And that's how we got here. So God is a man. I just want to clear that up. And then we can go a little further. So now, at this point, I want to turn the mic back over to Brother Bartley and Brother Akbar.
Yes, sir. That was very enlightening, Doc.
Okay.
I was watching a program today. I usually watch a lot of religious programs since, I was introduced to your teachings and your 2 books.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize that all of the scholarship supports one another. If you take Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, you can see that it's all a collaboration because they all support one another. They all come up with Abraham and all these other fictitious characters. And I was watching a program today of this white woman. She's a scholar. I think she's an archaeologist. And it was a panel of religious people. It was a guy from, he had a Muslim name, but he was a pastor. He was supposed to have been one of the higher scholars, and you had quite a few other renowned scholars. But to make a long story short, the scholars proved to the European, everybody in that audience was European except that Indian and one black man. In spite of them telling these people that there's no historical evidence, any of that stuff, these people still took their minds and defended something that didn't really exist, that don't exist. You see, so people have the psychology of people is to defend something that, that ordinary sane people tell them is not true, but they make it true in their lives because they need something. They need something to lean on other than their own human spirituality. And so by me having the knowledge that you've given us, you're able to see that, it's no sense in me watching any program dealing with any type of religion or anything like that because it's useless and actually it angers you because they're all saying the same things, and each one of them is trying to persuade people to be in their so-called religious groups. Their dogma and everything is correct, and they have the truth. And if you're a person who never heard some of these teachings, you would be attracted to it because they got it so elaborate. It's almost like people make themselves believe this stuff, and actually, as you would say, live it within their own being. They become so obsessed with it that it is dangerous, and it is one of the reasons why we as a people, especially, cannot make no progress.
That's true. But here, Brother Bartley, you have to remember this about scholars, okay? Whether they are African scholars or European scholars. And you mentioned that these are archaeologists and who were at a meeting, and they all agreed with each other concerning whatever scholarship or whatever subject that they brought forth on the table. Now, this is what you have to understand, that if you're an archaeologist or whatever field that you endeavor to research, all of your Western academian scholars have embraced a religion, as well as your African scholars. They have embraced a religion. You see? So therefore, they all have the same thing in common. That's the reason why they don't disagree with each other, maybe on some minor things pertaining to certain subjects, but overall, they are and have embraced a religion. So therefore, they may have all kinds of degrees, but they still have embraced a religion. Okay? So that takes me back to William Foxwell Albright, who was the archaeologist who held the chair of archaeology at Johns Hopkins University. And when he died, his students had a symposium on him. And they said that he took the Bible in one hand and a spade in another hand and tried to dig into the earth to find things that would prove the Bible to be literal. That his students said that he failed to do that. He floundered and failed to do that. So the main thing I'm going to get to you is to tell you that even though they may have all kinds of degrees, they may have titles such as archaeologists, Egyptologists, et cetera, they all embrace a religion. You ask them, what religion do you practice? And they'll tell you, okay? Getting back to our African scholars, Chancellor Williams, who wrote the book Destruction of Black Civilization, was a Roman Catholic Christian. George G.M. James, Stolen Legacy, a Christian. Cheikh Anta Diop was a Muslim. Asa Hilliard was a Christian. And it goes on and on and on. See, so even though they are scholars and they have studied in certain fields of scholarship to make themselves a scholar, but they still have embraced a religion. That's the thing that I want you to understand that. All those scholars, whether they are European scholars coming out of these universities, they have embraced a religion. If they're African scholars, they have embraced a religion, unless some of them have stopped embracing a religion because I came out in 1993 with a book, my very first book, saying that there's never been a man that ever walked the earth in human form of any race, creed, or color by the name of Jesus Christ. Now, you mentioned about the three religions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, that they all are related to each other. The reason being, and you mentioned the name, Abraham is in all three of those religions. So therefore, that's the reason why you have Christianity, in Islam, in Judaism, and Black Hebrew Israelitism. You have the same thing among those three religions, all because of Abraham is injected into all three major Western religions.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, I tell you, it's I really appreciate what your book have done for me, but if people want to continue to believe, I'm not trying to dissuade people from their belief, because as you stated, and profoundly that it is, I didn't give them that religion. The only thing when I talk to people is to give them the truth as far as I know it. And as far as I know it, there is no information out here that is higher than the information that you have given to us. And you've given to us freely. Unless we buy the book, that's something different. But you've given up your time and your efforts to give us this information freely because you really believe and you feel for us. You believe in us as a people, just as I do. I believe in the spirituality and the humanity of black people. And if that wasn't the case, I wouldn't even be involved. But I believe, and your book has given new light to that belief. And from the book, you can see that the main obstacle to us reaching our fullest potential, Egyptians, is us being trapped into these mystical, esoteric religions.
Correct.
And if you look at our condition, on every corner, in the black community, in the heart of our downtrodden areas, is a storefront church of some sort. You don't see one grocery store of no grocery stores. All you see is maybe a hair salon and a bar, and that's it. So the religion has taken away our creative way of thinking. Africans here in America, we have really taken it to the extreme where it is destroying us. And if it continues like this, maybe 10, 15 years from now, if they want to continue loving their enemies and doing what they have been doing, our so-called ethnicity will be drowned in a sea of whiteness, and we'll be obliterated as an ancient people here in these hemispheres. And that is one of my fears, that we are going to integrate ourselves out of existence if we don't give back these religions to these people.
Correct.
That's just the way I feel.
Yeah, well, see, you hit the nail on the head about belief. You see, belief is the glue that keeps all religions together. Belief. Belief is very dangerous because the believer don't know anything about what he or she is believing in concerning these religions. Belief incarcerates a human's mind. It puts their mind into a limited way of thinking. Belief destroys the human being because that human being with that belief goes outside of themselves, away from their own personal humanity. Okay? So belief is very, very dangerous. Belief enslaves the believer. Belief destroys the believer without that individual even knowing what is destroying them or whether they are destroyed at all. You see? But so belief incarcerates a human's mind, just like when a person is put into a jail cell. That jail cell have limited space. Outside of that space of that individual who's incarcerated and put in that space, he does all of his thinking, living, planning, or whatever the case might be. Can't go no further than that because he's incarcerated. Belief does the same thing. And that's very, very, very dangerous for an individual to believe. What I set out to do years ago was to look for the truth. And I found the truth. And I began to investigate to make sure that this is the truth. So, truth has to be mixed with facts. Facts are stronger than argument, more profound than reasoning, more dependable than opinions, silences dispute, supersedes predictions, and facts always end the argument unless you're talking to someone who does not want to know the facts. You see? Now, facts is not in a religion because man created the religion to control man. Carter G. Woodson said, he said it best. If you want, in order to control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his action. If you control his thinking, you don't have to worry about his action. If he's been trained to go to the back, and upon arriving at the back, there's no door, he will make the door out of no door because he has been trained to do that. So we have to really understand what is being put before us as a religion. We as an African people will never, ever be free until we realize what these religions are doing to us, have done to us, and continuing to do to us. When you embrace a religion, Christianity, for instance, it's like going back to the slave plantation because these religions makes a slave out of an individual because all religions have laws, customs, rituals, and ceremonies for an individual to abide by. The Muslim, he has to pray 5 times a day. He's not free. Christianity and Christians, they got to go to the church and take communion. They're not free. You see? So therefore, these religions, it's like going back to the slave plantation. On the slave plantation, old Martha is the owner of the slave plantation. In all Christian church, this Jesus the Christ, this white man hanging on the cross dead, is at the head of all Christian churches. On all slave plantations, you have an overseer, and he's old boss Charlie. He keeps the slaves in line for old Martha. Now, in the church, who the preacher or reverend or minister, he takes the place of old boss Charlie, the overseer for old Martha. The slaves are sitting out in the pews of the church. They're the believers. They're believing in something they know nothing about. The first thing that an individual should know something about is his own personal humanity. you have to know something about yourself. And once you know about your own personal humanity, you will find that you coming out of your mother's womb, you were given life, and that is your indwelling divine spiritual birthright. But you were not given a religion. Man created religion to control man, and that's what religions are designed for, to control man's thinking. So therefore, when you, as an African, go and sit up in the pews of a Christian church, and the icon up there is that dead white man on the cross that you have been trained to call God and your Savior. So you're praying to this white man for whatever you pray to that white image on that cross for. And then when you come out of church after praying to that dead white man on the cross, then you got to beg white people to give you justice and jobs and other things that you may need. Okay? That don't make sense. The white people that you're begging on the outside in human form is related to that white dead man on the cross that you call Jesus the Christ. So therefore, the icon, the image, and the symbol of white supremacy is institutionalized in all Christian churches throughout America and throughout the world. In all Christian churches, white superiority is being practiced. In all Christian churches, African and black inferiority is being practiced. Okay? And you don't know this because you have been indoctrinated into this religion at an early, innocent child age by your parents who introduced you and indoctrinated you into this religion called Christianity, thereby assassinating your spirituality without them knowing it. And your grandparents passed this disease and virus down to your parents. So in turn, your parents pass this disease on to you, and when you have children, you pass it on to your children, and they have children, they pass it on to their children. So it goes on and on and on until one day we have to stop and come out of these churches in order for us to save our own self, to liberate ourselves. I can't liberate you. Programs like we're on at this very moment, guests like myself, hosts like Brother Akbar and Brother Bartley can only bring you a message and information that will give you the tools for you to liberate your own self. We can't do that for you. So you have to do it your own self. So belief is very, very, very dangerous. You see? Now, let's go back to our ancient Egyptian ancestors living in the continent of Africa, in the country called Egypt. I'm going to show you how big their minds were at the time. They did not have no religion in their society. They had a spiritual way of life with the underlying principle of Mea, truth, justice, peace, love, and wisdom. That's the underlying principles that they use in their everyday life and in their culture. Now, let's go back to their minds. Here they thought of, from their mind, how to build a pyramid because they tapped into the spiritual rhythm of the universe. And the universe taught them how to build the Great Pyramid, how to bring civilization to this whole entire world that we know, that we live in at this moment. Now, their minds were so big that they thought of building a pyramid 490 feet high with the base on all four sides, measuring 756 feet on each side of the base of the pyramid. Now, they also built the Sphinx. The body of the Sphinx is one city block long, 6 stories high, with an African face carved in stone. This is coming from their minds, their thinking. You see? They were the first and oldest literate people living on planet Earth during the time of antiquity. Why? Because they created an alphabet to make themselves literate. They created mathematics to know how to build the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx and so forth and so on. Mathematics showed them how to do that and use their minds to create the Great Pyramid, the Sphinx, and bring forth civilization to all of humanity. Also, they, in their culture, they had symbols that we know today as the hieroglyphics, those pictorial symbols. Now, I'm going to show you where them being the first and oldest literate people on planet Earth, that from that literacy, which consists of the alphabet makes an individual literate. So they had the world's first alphabet. They created it. I'm going to show you what they did with the symbols that they use in their culture. I'm going to show you what they did with the alphabet that they use in their culture. I'm going to show you what they did with mathematics, what they did in their culture, that they used in their culture. All three things, symbols, alphabet, and mathematics, with those three things, they created music. They were the world's first musicians on planet Earth. Why? Because in music, as I speak, music consists of do, re, mi, so, fa, la, ti, 7 letters of the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay? That's the 7 letters of the alphabet, and when you take those 7 notes that makes up organized music, and you make those notes sharp, you give it a sharp sound or a flat sound, and you got 7 more notes. So together, those 14 notes, they created music, organized music. They were the world's first musicians on planet Earth, our ancestors, ancient Egyptians. Now, I'm the first one that I know of as a scholar to tell you this. Okay? So now, here they are, the first musicians on Earth, because they created the harp. The harp, if you turn it on its side and put legs on it, becomes a piano. The piano and the harp is the mother instrument. They created the lute. They created flutes. They created the banjo. They created the drum, and so forth and so on. So they were the world's first musicians on Earth. Okay? Why? Because they created music. This planet will not be like it is today if it wasn't for us Africans and our ancestors, because we brought and put music on this planet. This planet would be dead if we, as a race of people, did not bring forth our music. Today, our music is all over the world. Everywhere you go, you're going to find this music coming that was created by this African living in America who has been named the Negro from his music. It's all over the world. So these are the things that I want you to understand so we can grow as a people. But we're going to have to come out of these churches. We're going to have to stop worshiping this dead white man on the cross that don't look like us. As a question I ask Christians, do you think, Christians, that the white race would take their children and their family into a church and worship a big dead black Jesus on the cross and teach their children, their little white children and their family, that this black Jesus is their God and Savior? You think they would do that? I'll give you the answer. Hell no, they won't do it. The next question I'm asking the Christian, then if that's the case, then why are you going to these churches worshiping him? He's not going to worship you. Okay? Now, the third question I ask Christians, what African Christians, I'm talking to you, what is the name of your African God that looks like you? What is your African God's name that looks like you? Can you give me that answer? I doubt it. So these are the things that we really have to understand, Brother Bartlett and Brother Akbar.
Yes, sir. And let me tell you. Hey, Doc.
Yes, Doc. Well, I want to ask you this question because somebody asked me the question, and I said that I was going to ask you, so if they listen to the show, that they can hear your answer. They said, well, how about the Polish people, the Russian people, and the Pope bowing down to the Black Madonna?
Okay. First place, the Roman Catholic Church, which is run by the Pope and popes, they know historically that there's never been a man that ever walked the earth in human form of any race, creed, or color by the name of Jesus Christ. They know that. With that knowledge of knowing that, they know that Isis, the attributes of Isis, was given to this created creature, the Virgin Mary. Okay? And they know that. So therefore, they know that Isis is depicted in pictorial form in certain places in the world as being an African woman with an African child. Okay? So that's your answer to that. They already know that. So that's the reason why, in some cases, especially in Poland, they bow down to or worship a so-called Black Madonna and child. Now, they tell you that the picture found in Poland that depicts a Madonna and child, the Madonna and child has dark skin. They're going to rationalize and say the reason why this Madonna and child has dark skin was that it was in a fire, and the smoke made the people in the picture dark. See, so that's I've heard it that way also. So that is my answer to you.
Okay. Well, I think in order for us to be in the condition we're in, that they had to brainwash their own people. Just a lot of white people don't know what's going on, and if you listen to them, you'll find out that they're more in the dark about religion than we are, in a sense. In order for us to be in this condition, along with these dumb Europeans, it shows that the people at the top, the ones who are controlling everything, the puppeteers, don't care who you are. If you believe in this belief thing that they got set up, then you are their slaves. We know that black people are slaves, but this thing is a whole world. It's a worldwide enslaver, you see. And it's just, the more I read the book, the more I listen to your program, the more you see that it's a worldwide system of domination using these fictitious characters to brainwash people and make them easy to control. I just want to make one more point. I live here in Logan, and it's named after a old slave master who was the secretary to William Penn, the founder of Pennsylvania. Now, according to the Quakers, they were so pious and so abolitionist, etc., etc., but they had slaves. The person who this part of the city that I live in, he had over 600 slaves or more. But they come at us in the history that they trying to give us, that the Quaker was so righteous and so loving of black people. And our people fall for that kind of mess. You're talking about when you say something about the Quakers, they think the Quakers are different than these other folks. They're no different. They're all the same. You see, but our people are so loving and kind to everybody but themselves that we can't see this quagmire that we're in, and it's disheartening. But I know in my heart that sooner or later the light is going to shine on some of these folks, and they're going to wake up. They're going to be forced to wake up. In this type of civilization or this type of world we live in that claim that it's civilized is actually anti-civilized, anti-civilization. And sooner or later, our people are going to get the message. And it's going to be quite clear to them that all this mythical stuff, religion and stuff that they push on us is just a way of controlling us and keeping us thinking the way that they want us to think.
Correct. Now, you mentioned that white people were fooled also about these religions. That's true. But see, they benefit more than we do.
I agree.
See, the image that's on that cross is a dead white man. And that dead white man belongs to the race of white people. So therefore, that dead white man and that's hanging on that cross is more detrimental to us as African people because it destroys us and support white supremacy, so which is no good. So they're going to have to wake up and realize what damage that this religion called Christianity and any religion is doing to them and their own personal humanity. So you're absolutely right when you make that statement. Now, you said the Quakers had slaves, yes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also, the Roman Catholic Church had slaves over here in North America, in Maryland and other places like that. They had two African priests at the time, Father Knuckles and Father Cousins. Those two priests, they were priests of the Roman Catholic Church, but they were not allowed to come into a Catholic church and conduct any type of service or even to sit in the pews of the church. But they were listed as fathers or priests of the Roman Catholic Church. Father Knuckles and Father Cousins. Those were the two that I'm talking about. So, yes, also add to your understanding that the Roman Catholic Church had slaves in America.
Yes, they did. And I know
Brother
one.
Bartley,
Yeah.
I want to ask the doctor a question. And Doc, I want to talk about the Hagia Sophia being one of the seven wonders of the world, with the dome from the floor to the dome reaching 180 feet, and it was that, according to them, it held the record as the tallest brick structure without no steel or anything in it other than the pyramid. And why is it that the Western world, and you don't hear any Christians in the Western world or black Christians, anybody knowing anything about this church that was built for them.
Well, see, if they tell you about the Hagia Sophia, I'm the only one in the African community that brought the Hagia Sophia into our community in my book, The Historical Origin of Christianity. And also the picture of the Hagia Sophia is on the front cover of my book, The Historical Origin of Islam. It shows 3 minarets, but the Hagia Sophia had 4 minarets, but when the picture was taken, only 3 could be put and made up the cover of my book, The Historical Origin of Islam. So you see the 3 minarets, but it's actually 4, and we couldn't get the 4th one in there because of how the cover is designed. Okay? Now, you asked me about the Hagia Sophia.
Yes.
And how it was designed and so forth and so on. And why is it not mentioned? It's not mentioned because you got to go back to this. They want the Roman Catholic Church to be the church. They name the church, and that signifies the Roman Catholic Church when you hear the chant the church. They don't want to talk about the Hagia Sophia because if they talk about the Hagia Sophia, that'll open up a new ball game in the minds of the people who are embracing Christianity. If you go and talk about the Hagia Sophia, you're going to have to deal with the male Coptic Egyptians. You're going to have to deal with those council meetings, Nicaea I, Constantinople I, Ephesus, Chalcedon, Constantinople II, Constantinople III, the Hieria, Nicaea II, 787, and the Fortress Philippi Conference. You got to deal with all of that. They don't want that brought out. So they take you on a ride in the minds of the people that the Vatican is the first Christian church on earth. That's the reason why they do that. And then they do that also because the traditional death date of a Jesus Christ is 30 A.D., they call it. Birth date of a Jesus Christ was during the time of Herod, 4 B.C. That's the birth date of a Jesus Christ. 4 B.C. in the time of Herod. Died 30 A.D. Okay? So now what they have to do, Brother Akbar, is to put out literature that will coincide with those dates. You see? They can't coincide and bring out literature that's going to coincide with the building of the Hagia Sophia 532, finished 5 years later, 537 by African architects and African builders, built in northeast Africa in the double-walled city of Constantinople, known as Istanbul, Turkey today. See, they're not do that because that's an altogether different history right there. See, so they don't want to wake up the giant. On your program, you being the host, Brother Bartlett being your assistant host, allows me to bring forth information that will wake or put a spotlight on the giant that's sleeping over there under cover. Pull the cover out. The giant is sleeping under. So you have to remember those things I just mentioned to you.
Yes, and I also want to emphasize that, I want to ask you a question, I want you to explain this to them, how they took the created creature, a statue, Serapis, and connected it to the leader to make him as the representative, the vicar of Christ or Serapis on earth that handed the power of God into the hands of a man.
Well, you see, as we speak today, the Pope in Rome and all popes that sits on the seat of Christianity in Rome sits as representing Christ. In other words, every pope that sits on that seat representing Christ is the vicar of Christ. The word vicar means same as Christ. So this pope sits, or any pope that sits in Rome today, in that seat as the pope, becomes the vicar of Christ, V-I-C-A-R, vicar of Christ, which means the same as Christ. Now, where did that concept start from? It goes back to the Ptolemies. When Serapis was made and created using the image of Ptolemy I, like he called Soter. Ptolemy I was given the attributes of Osiris and Apis, the bull representative of Ra. Okay? And they came out with this name, Serapis or Serapis, and gave this name with the attributes of Osiris and Ra to this Ptolemy. Okay? So now, when he died, you had 13 other Ptolemies to succeed him. You had 14 in all. But with those 13 Ptolemies, they sat on the throne and ruled Egypt as the vicar of Serapis, now known today as Jesus the Christ. So that's historically how what you're talking about happened.
So that's one of the reasons why I tell black people that in my mind there will never be a black pope, because then he would be the representative of God on earth, and that would mess with the white supremacy. What do you say to that?
I said to that is that you are absolutely right, because like I mentioned before, the icon, the image, and the symbol of white supremacy is institutionalized in all Christian churches throughout America and throughout the world. What do I mean by that? What is the icon? What is the image? And what is the symbol of Christianity? It's that dead white man on the cross. Okay? And they're not going to put an African pope up there to represent or to be the same as or the vicar of Christ. The two don't go together. Something wrong.
So that black African pope that they always putting up every time one of them white popes is died, they just dangling him out there to make the black Catholics think that they're going to do something like that.
Right, it's like they do when you in the politics in this country. Mm-hmm. Every time that is a time to elect a president, a member of our race start running for president. The first one was Shirley Chisholm. Now, what they do to us as an African people running for the office of president, for instance, they will give you, like Jesse Jackson, for instance, they gave him South Carolina, I believe. In other words, he won South Carolina, okay? And then they say, oh, he's coming up in the polls. He's doing this and all that, okay? That is to dangle him in our community with the hopes that they're going to elect him to be the president of this country, okay? They're not going to do that, okay, as you can see. Now, Obama got in there because he ran a different campaign. He come from white parentage with an African father. White mother raised him. White grandmother raised him. White uncle raised him. White people raised him. He was not raised in our African community in America. So, and then he can talk very intelligent, and his mannerism is more to their liking. His mannerism did not intimidate white people, so they put him up there and made him the president of this country. See? So, yeah, they will make you think that they're going to, before Obama, I'm saying, they make you think that they're going to elect a member of the African race to be the president. They did it to Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson twice, Shirley Chisholm, etc. But it's not going to happen. After Obama, no more, unless the fabric of this country change. I mean, the racial fabric of this country, which it is changing at this very moment that we're talking. So it's just a matter of time getting to that time and space and place in this country. And you may see another one, African president. But that's what I wanted to let you know and bring that out to you about
Professor,
in the political scene in America.
Yeah, Professor, I think they would have thousands of Negroes sitting on the seat of the President of the United States, but not on the seat of the Catholic Church, because that's more powerful than any president of the United States. What you say to that?
Well, I would say yes, because you got all these millions and billions of people's minds all under control of Christianity and Roman Catholic Catholicism. I would say yes. You're absolutely right.
Because compared to that, Obama sitting on the American throne is insignificant compared to sitting on that throne of worshiping the image of white people on the seat of the Catholic.
If that happened, then what would happen to white supremacy?
It'll be gone.
It would fall flat. They don't want that.
I had made a joke that if they put a black pope up there, probably all the black people, Africans, and all that stuff that's in the Catholic Church probably leave Catholicism.
Okay.
Hey, if they put Harriet Tubman on a $20 bill, maybe a lot of those whiteys will stop spending money.
No, they probably try to find out how much more they can get of Harriet Tubman's picture on the money. No, that when it comes to money, they put on the dollar bill, "In God We Trust." Okay, so they trust in God monetarily. Okay.
Right.
So anyway, sticking to our point, we're going to continue on. So you got anything else to say, Brother Akbar and Brother Bartley?
Yes,
I want to ask about the Hagia Irene.
The Empress Irene?
Yeah, they have a Hagia Irene. I was reading about the Byzantine Empire, and they were talking about a church called the Hagia Irene. It's supposed to sit in front of the Hagia Sophia or something, or to the side of it or something. Or is it connected?
Never heard of it.
Yeah, that's what they were calling the Hagia Irene.
What did you read this at?
On the internet. That's why I'm asking you about it, to see if it's real.
Well, see, you got to give me more information. See, I don't have enough information. What you're telling me.
Okay, well, the next time we do a show, I'll have the rest of the information. I just read about it and heard about it. But this is one other point that I read about, and I don't know if, they call it the Pantheon in Rome, and it's a building with a dome, and they're trying to say that this is the architecture they used to build the Hagia Sophia. Do you agree with that?
Like I told you earlier in the show, the Vatican in Rome, as we speak, is only a replica of the double-walled city of Constantinople, where the Hagia Sophia was built. It's only a replica of that. So I'm not surprised at that.
Yeah. So they lie so much. We're glad that we have you to straighten out some of the stuff that, I only read it to see the lies now. Before I used to read it with no understanding, but now that I've read through your book and have you on my show and able to listen to you, everything that I question, and I just come to you with it and ask you, because I know that you've done the years and years of research on these on this issue.
Right.
But these people are devious with their information. And that Hagia Sophia, I mean, this thing is so beautiful. I seen a film. I sent it to Brother Bartley, and they were doing about the earthquakes, how the earthquake hit Istanbul, Turkey, and all these other buildings. But the Hagia Sophia still ain't fall down.
That's right. Same thing with the pyramid.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. So, the same. And they were saying that this some Greeks called Andromitius and Isidorus were the architects. What do you say about that?
Repeat that again.
They said that these Greeks, one named Andromitius and the other one named Isidorus, were the architects of the Hagia Sophia.
Of course, they're gonna say that. You know that they're gonna say that. They're gonna give it to the Greeks. The Greeks couldn't read or write when they came into Egypt. They're gonna give it to some kind of Greek name or some kind of Roman name or Italian name individual to take away from what our ancestors did over there. Okay? In 532, Greeks couldn't read or write, just a few. Okay? But now, what I'm saying to you is this. Do not allow them to do that, because that's a lie. Our ancestors built that. That's their design. That's their building that they put up. See? So, no Greeks, but they use that today because why? The descendants of the ancient Egyptians are not claiming ancient Egypt. Okay? And the descendants of the ancient Egyptians are us, Africans, born in America, 42 million, living in North America, are descendants of the ancient Egyptians. So we've been named and trained to call ourselves Negroes, blacks, and African Americans. So now they take that away from us by miseducating us in the school system, teaching us to love and respect their image as God. And they teach us away from history. We don't know anything about our history as a people that goes back to ancient Egypt. They don't want us back there. As long as you're sitting up in the pews of a church worshiping that white image on their cross, as long as you're calling yourself black people and African Americans and Negroes and all that, you're fine. You're fine. Love it. See, they love it. See, so they're going to take the building of the Hagia Sophia away from you. So somebody's got to build it or had built it, and they're not going to tell you it was African people that built that pyramid. They're going to name some Greeks or some Italian or whatever the case might be to take you away from that. That's why they do that.
And also, Doc, your when after you read your book and you start watching the History Channel and everything, they had a program on talking about the Romans build the arch. Then I seen them arches in the Hagia Sophia and knew that our ancient ancestors built it. You find yourself cursing the TV out.
Well, you see, the Romans haven't built anything. You got to remember this. Jazz music is a creation of the African in America under the name of a Negro. Nobody, no human can play jazz until we play it first. Remember that. And then they come back and copy it, try and copy it. But there's an ingredient missing in their copying us playing jazz music. That's a spirit that we interject naturally in our music. They can't get that. Okay? So they're going to, in order to play jazz, you have to study the Negro, the American, African in this country who call themselves Negro. You see? So No, they got to come by us. You see? So now,
Exactly.
What was your question, Brother Akbar?
The question was that we're the builders of the first arch. Black people should know that. We created arches and all this architecture. And
yeah,
all,
right.
and
that arc, the arch, you talking about ARCH?
yes.
Okay. That also is a Moorish design. You see them all over this country. You see, they were more dominant over in Spain. When the Moors were invited over there to create and bring civilization to pagan, heathen, uncivilized Spain. And they came over there and they set up schools to introduce literacy, and they began to build those cities, Cordova, Granada, Cadillac, so forth and so on over there. And their designs were arch. Okay? You go to Venice, Italy, you see a replica of some of the cities that the Moors built in Spain. You see? So that arch is a design and creation of the Moors, and the Moors are descendants of the ancient Egyptians. So once you know history, human history, then you can repudiate that. See, like you're doing it now. You say, no, that's not true. Because, see, you know some semblance of history. You have studied it pertaining to us and them. See, very important. If I ask people today in the African community, where would you start European history? Or do you know anything about European history? They would tell you no. Or they give you some funny answers that's wrong. See? So you have to know not only about your own personal humanity, you have to know something about our ancient Egyptian ancestors. You have to relate yourself, us, 44 billion of us living in North America, to the culture, the civilization, and the humans that created that civilization through their culture in ancient Egypt. So you have to associate with our ancient Egyptian ancestors. Plus, you have to know European history. Very important. Once you know European history, once you know ancient Egyptian history, then you'll be able to match the two from the other, or the one from the other. So you'll be able to match that. And then you know when the truth comes up, you know it. And when the lie comes up, you know that too.
Yes, indeed. That's a beautiful thing when you have the facts and people are perpetrating lies. You know, on that program I told you about earlier about these people in the panel, you had a couple of rabbis, and I'm listening. I'm paying more attention to what they say. Not that I'm into that, but since I started reading their literature, I started listening to a lot of these religious programs to see if I'm hearing the same thing from all of them. And it is the same thing. They're echoing the same thing, but each culture is putting it in their own perspective.
You know, that's called, Brother Bartlett, it's called tradition.
Yes, tradition.
See, they have a traditional teaching, and that's what they are guided by, and that's what they use, and they pass it on from generation to generation in their school system.
Yes, indeed.
So that's tradition, what you're talking about. Continue.
Yeah. And this rabbi started talking about Babylon and Samaria and all these places. The woman say historically these places never existed. You see, so I'm saying, you know, they must have known that your teaching is on YouTube a lot, because within the slot that I listened to your teachings, all of this came up, right? So anyway, to make a long story short, they were saying that there's no historical fact that Abraham existed. There's no historical fact that this person, and I said, okay, now they're fighting among themselves, or they're pretending. They could be pretending because, like you say, they might be doing scholarly work, but they still have a religion.
That's true. They all embrace the religion. See, but the thing about it is that it's coming out in print. You take a book that was put out in the year 2000. It's called The Original Torah by the initial S, David Sperling. He put this book out called The Original Torah. In this book, he said there's never been an Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, Sarah, Gideon, Esau, David, or Joshua. And Walter Williams continued to say that every named character listed in the Bible, 99 and 9/10 of every named character listed in the Bible never walked the earth as human beings. So, and S. David Sperling teaches at the Hebrew Union College in New York City. He's a rabbi. See? So they're bringing this out now. But they're not going to talk about it all day long now. They're going to bring it out one time, and that's it. If you don't catch it, then you don't catch it.
Right.
Then there's another book by Solomo Sand that came out about 6 or 7 years ago. It's called The Invention of the Jewish People. And he's telling you how the Jewish people, that term was invented. There's no such thing as no Jewish people, okay? But he wrote this book called The Invention of the Jewish People. Shlomo Sand, he teaches at Tel Aviv University, and over in the illegal state of Israel. And when he got his tenure, to make sure that he could not be fired, he came out with this book after he got his tenure. Now, also, in 1999, the Chicago Sun-Times in Chicago, the Metro section of that paper, had an article that was written up when the Oriental Institute on the University of Chicago campus was reopened after being remodeled for a couple of years. And in this article, they had a section in there that says little known facts about Egypt. And it said this. It says, even though scholars may search, there is no evidence of a Moses ever being in Egypt. 2, it says 10 plagues never occurred in Egypt. 3, they said the Exodus never happened in Egypt. 4, they said slaves did not build the pyramid. So they're coming out with the truth now. But then, like I said, they're not going to be all day telling you and all year telling you. They'll tell you one time, and you got to be in the right place at the right time to catch it. So they're coming out now. They're telling, like you saying, Brother Bartley, it may be because I'm on YouTube, and what I'm saying goes against Western academia.
Right.
And the tradition that has been put out here. Okay? And then so they're gonna come out and be with the teachings that I am saying and putting out here in the African community. That's what they're doing.
Oh yeah. Yes, indeed. I think that what you're teaching is changing a whole lot of minds. White, black, or whatever color, they reading this book, and they some things are coming into their minds and making them search for answers in these religions, and which is a good thing.
Right.
It's a good thing because it frees the person's mind, and they'll be more in tune with that universal intelligence.
That's correct.
Yeah, that universal intelligence. That's what keeps us going. That's what gives us ideas and creativity.
That's
and
correct.
I think they're seeing that we got to do something because the world in which we're living in is dying. There's no more. You notice nobody's coming forth with nothing.
That's correct.
Like no creativity. If it wasn't for the Negro, the so-called Negro, they wouldn't have no creativity.
That's correct. He creates every day.
That hip hop thing, that hip hop thing is worldwide. Even though we might not agree with what they're putting in it, but these young boys, black people, black men have taken a heavy chunk out of the world with that rap. Now,
you see, here's the thing about it. We as a race of people are the Pied Pipers of the world. The world follows us, Africans living and born in the United States of America. We are leading the whole world, okay? Now, we also hold in our power to free the whole entire world of religion, to free them. Okay? Because the world's first religion was Christianity. And who created that religion was our Melkite Coptic Egyptian ancestors created that religion and that icon that's connected to that religion called Christianity.
That's right.
Our Melkite Coptic Egyptians created that for white people. And we, as a people living in North America, Africans, are the only people on earth that can free the whole entire world of Christianity and all religions. Okay? So once we come out of our ignorance and this dilemma and this quagmire that we're in now as a people and understand something about these religions and what they're doing to us, and we have to know something about our Melkite Coptic Egyptians, what they did to give this European a God in his own image. Okay? We had to give away our African gods, like I mentioned earlier, at the Council of Nicaea and at the Council of Ephesus. So we can free this whole world, we as a people. But first, we got to understand, see, like I always say, we have to know what happened to our African ancient Egyptian ancestors after the Greeks came into Egypt. We have to know that. And this is all part of knowing that history. And once you understand and know that history, then we as a people can be free, and we can free the whole world from these various religions. And we can do it.
I believe
we got to come out of these churches. We got to have scholars such as myself to bring forth new scholarship to our African people and get them out of the hands of these vicious, misguided ministers that's controlling their thinking and encouraging them to go into these churches and bow down to an image that don't even look like them, this dead white man on the cross called Jesus Christ. That's got to stop.
Yes, because right now, the biggest business in the black community is worshiping the white man in the image of Jesus the Christ.
That's correct.
And they give nothing back to the community but hope and a afterlife with this white image. That's a shame.
That's correct. Don't make sense.
That's a shame. When you sit back,
the question, Brother Akbar, has to be asked to these African Christians in America and throughout the world. And who is your African God that looks like you? What is that African God's name that looks like you? Okay?
And they also need to ask, what benefit have we gotten out of worshiping these white image Jesus Christ, aka Serapis? What have we? How much forward have we went as a people? And if you really look at it and you analyze it, it's really nowhere. This thing that you worshiping hasn't done anything to liberate you, to free you, to set your mind in a upright fashion. It's just like a fairy tale show, like going to see Peter Pan or something on Broadway.
You're absolutely right. I agree to that. This religion, like I mentioned earlier, incarcerate your thinking, limits your thinking, and destroy your own personal humanity. Destroys us as a people. So
yes,
we're going to have to come out of it.
Yes, but right now, Doc, we are into the show deep. You went overtime, so give up your website site again, and then Brother Bartley talk about the products that you have.
Well,
that's the website and stuff.
Go ahead, Doc. You got a web?
Oh, if people want to contact me, they can contact me through email, ancientegyptian@msn.com. ancientegyptian@msn.com. When you email me, put your phone number on your email, and I'll call you back, and we can take it from there.
And how to purchase your books, Doc?
Well, they can go to any African bookstore in their town where they live, or they can buy it on Amazon. Okay? And they can purchase it in those two venues, an African bookstore in the town or the city where they live, or go on Amazon and they can purchase it, my book, The Historical Origin of Christianity. The thesis of that book is saying that there's never been a man that ever walked the earth in human form of any race, creed, or color by the name of Jesus Christ. The second book, The Historical Origin of Islam, the thesis of that book is saying that there's never been a man that ever walked the earth in human form by the name of Prophet Muhammad. Okay? So those are my two books, and this is how you can contact me through my email, ancientegyptian@msn.com. Put your phone number there, and I'll call you back, and we can take up whatever conversation that you want to hold with me concerning religion, God, the Bible, etc.
Yes, and also I want to state that this concludes the show, but Brother Bartley's going to talk about the things he had, but this concludes the 4-part series that we did with the Doc. You get them all. You can come and you can get them all. You can get with us, and we'll provide some CDs for you, DVDs for you if you need them. And the Doc, we want to thank him for coming and sharing the knowledge and the wisdom that he has in all his years of studying and helping to uplift the minds of black people in the black and the so-called African American community. AKA, I mean, we're better known. Not AKA, we're not better known, but we are known to be the ancient descendants of the Egyptian people. Brother Bartley, I'm going to say good night to the doctor.
What?
And
yes, doctor, excuse me?
No, go ahead.
It was a pleasure being in your class for these four sessions, and we look forward to having you again. We look forward to you coming back with us and starting a new series, possibly on the historical origin of Islam or any other subject that you wish to talk about or enlighten us to make our lives much better.
Okay, I certainly appreciate both of you, Brother Akbar, Brother Bartley, and the next show, when I come back on that show, we're going to talk about that we must stop calling ourselves black, Negro, and African American. How damaging and detrimental those names are to us at this time. We're going to have to leave those names alone, and I'm going to go off into in-depth reasons as to why we can no longer use those names anymore. We're going to have to outgrow even those names. We can't call ourselves and call each other black people or Negroes, because black and Negro is synonymous. And African Americans, we can't do that. So we're going to start off our next topic. When you invite me back, that will be the topic. And then we can take that topic and go off into other discussions on that same show.
Okay, that would be fantastic, Doc.
Okay, and I certainly appreciate you both being such great hosts. And I want to commend you all on your reading of my excerpts from my books, Historical Origins of Christianity, Historical Origins of Islam. You both did an excellent job, and I certainly appreciate you guys for being who you are and standing up for the truth, because the truth shall make you free.
Yes,
and
correct.
The lie is not your friend. So either you want the truth that will make you free, or you want to continue with the lie that's not your friend. With that, Mi'at Hotep.
Mi'at Hotep. Okay.